Hi there, my name is Jeremy Johnston. I want to talk today about books. I love books, I love to read, I love to own books. I write books, I teach books. Books are a big part of my life. And as a Christian, it's particularly true. Christians are often described as people of the book or people of the Word. And this goes all the way back even before the New Testament, the Old Testament. The Jewish people, the Hebrew people were people of the book. Unlike other ancient religions, which tended to focus on specific idols or statues or representations of their God on earth. So, you know, the Israelites coming out of Egypt, for example, in the Exodus, they're leaving Egypt behind, where there's a tremendous focus on statuary and on actually going to places and looking at a specific idol or statue, saying that is your God. Whereas for the Hebrew faith, for Judaism, early Judaism, there was no representation of God. You might be saying, well, what about things like the Ark of the Covenant, which seemed like an object representing God? But that's the key thing. It actually represents God. It's not actually God itself. This little trinket is actually from the Indiana Jones movie. Big fan of those films. But and right even until the temple, from tabernacle to the temple, these things weren't actually God, but symbolic representations. So that's always been the case. You think of even creation itself. You go all the way back to Genesis. God spoke the universe into existence. He didn't create it with his hands. We're told he created it with his words, that through words the world came into existence. And in fact, it's that tradition of language, that tradition of words, that words being powerful and meaningful is certainly carried on to today. You think of such documents as the Magna Carta, for example. Now, I don't have the original here in my office, but here's a copy of the Magna Carta from 1215, which laid the foundation ultimately for the American Constitution, and right down to, as a Canadian, we have, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and our protection, our freedoms are guaranteed not necessarily by force or the sword or by some kind of other external means, but by words itself. That words are the guarantor of my particular freedom, of our freedom as Canadian citizens, American citizens, or wherever you are in a free democracy. It's words that protect you. And that idea that words matter comes from this high value that certainly Western civilization has placed on the written word. There are other traditions, there are other ways in which you can guarantee protection and so on. You think of the wampum belt, for example, with indigenous people. In storytelling, there's all sorts of ways, but for us, certainly in the Western tradition, this high value placed on words, and even before Christianity became established in the Roman Empire, words mattered. The legal system mattered in Rome, as well as going all the way back to ancient Greece. When Draco, for example, published, and Solon, these guys published the legal code on tablets to be seen by all. Once it's down in words, even going back to the Code of Hammurabi, for example, there's tremendous power and certainty and the ability to interpret and understand. Obviously, words can be flawed and so on, but when it comes to the Word of God, the Orthodox Christian position is that what we have here is, although the translations, the manuscripts may be slightly altered, there is an assurance that what we have is actually the Word of God, and we can trust it, that it is infallible, that we can put our hope and faith in the words written there. Now, what I want to share with you today, in these brief moments, I want to share with you some of the cool old Bibles that I have. I obviously have got a ton of Bibles in my home, in my study, different versions that I enjoy, that I've used over the years. But I want to show you a few that are particularly precious to me, or interesting anyways. What I'm going to start with here is this. This is an old Bible that my brother actually gave me. When he was a student at Brock University, one of the professors at the Lutheran Seminary was retiring, and he was auctioning off his library. And so my brother managed to get a hold of a couple Bibles for me, and he gave them to me for Christmas. This one's really cool because it's got a leather cover, and the actual hardback here is wood. So it's a wooden covered Bible. It's obviously seen some wear. It's been repaired with some special tape here. But what's interesting about it, it's illustrated by Gustave Doré. And I don't know, well, that comes through there. So you can see these wonderful illustrations here. It's actually a German Bible. And the translation here is Martin Luther. It says here, Dr. Martin Luther is the translator. And this particular edition is well over 100 years old right here. So it's pretty cool. It's got some 1871 is when this one was published, but you can see it's all in German, with some beautiful illustrations from Gustave Doré throughout. I also have here this is another one that my brother got a hold of for me. Same thing, it's a German Bible. You can see it's got the leather with a wooden cover. Used to have some kind of buckles here to close it, and those have been come off after use. And someone's inscribed it, 1841, when this was written in. Beautiful penmanship back in the day, but also in German translation by Martin Luther. Martin Luther, of course, was instrumental in helping to solidify modern German language. And it's the same with the King James Bible, which I have here. This is another very attractive edition. I love these sort of ribbed back and the imprint here. I can't find the date. Some of the original pages are torn away here through use, but it looks like it was used at St. Michael's School. So it has some history there. Some students have done some graffiti in there. Or maybe some annotations, I don't know. But the King James Bible was obviously key in helping establish the English language. So the King James Bible is a remarkable translation. Leland Ryken has written a marvelous book called The Legacy of the King James Bible, and he discusses 400 years of the most influential English translation. There are others, the Geneva Bible, for example. There's the Tyndale, it's a bit older than that. And then right up to today, where you have the New International Version, you have the New American Standard Bible, and you have the English Standard Version. These are wonderful resources. And you also have New King James as well. These are wonderful translations, and it's great to have the Bible in English. I did study New Testament Greek when I was at Bible college, although I'm quite a bit rusty on that. And certainly I don't know the first thing about Hebrew, although I've got a ton of resources to help me if I ever have to tackle a Hebrew text. But I am very thankful for the English translations. I'm thankful for the Word of God, thankful for the book, that I can read it, that I can learn from it, that I can apply it, that I could teach from it, that I could be taught by it. It's a wonderful gift. So before I close out, I just want to read to you a poem, a short poem that I wrote called The Word That Walked. In Genesis, we read that God created the universe with a spoken word, and then in John, we see that the Word became flesh. So the incarnation. Christ is the incarnated one. And let me read this poem for you now. He is more than an unmoved mover. He is moved by compassion. By love he wept. Yes, wept real tears of brine, warm, wet, salty. He walked, he healed, he laughed, he ate, he slept. These aren't words in books penned by an author. What poet ever ate his own ideas? What wordsmith writes with real light? Whoever walked on soil he laid, soil he made? Jesus, he entered in. Let that sink in. With us he entered in. That one word became words. His story became history. Jesus' ink turned to blood. Blood became wine. His hurts no mere notion. Rusty nails, rough-hewn wood, the author's pain for our eternal good. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of those old books and listening to my poem. Take care.